2022 has been off to a very chaotic start in general for the entire gaming industry, as it seems like the biggest publishers and developers are trying to gobble each other up like some sort of cracked out version of Pac-Man. But last year, easily the biggest catastrophe was Battlefield 2042. This was a game that a lot of us sort of assumed would be a big hit, even if it seemed to be a little bit under budget. The fact that it seemed so glitchy, the frame rate so terrible, and the complete lack of a single player made a lot of us sort of scratch our heads and say, is this the project that they intended? Well, guess what? It turns out that everybody hates Battlefield 2042, including Electronic Arts, the developers themselves. What's up, gamers? Dreamcastguy here, and what we're looking at today is a series of different messages that has now been released by a very famous Electronic Arts leaker named Tom Henderson, and also some deleted tweets from the head of the development team who seems pissed that we even want the game to be fixed. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a giant thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, which I'm sure you definitely had because you're a good person. But now let's talk about this. EA is reportedly very disappointed with how Battlefield 2042 has performed and is looking at the options when it comes to this title. This includes talking about making it a free-to-play game in some capacity. I'll leave this for tomorrow. Now, this is a very interesting tweet because, honestly, if you ever try and look at any of the conversation around this game, it is overwhelmingly negative, to the point at which this guy, Andy McNamara, this is a dude who's directly in charge of the game itself, and even he is openly talking about the fact that it seems like they hate the fans. The people that are trying to talk about this is just... it's a giant cesspool. But look at this. Back to work today. I check Reddit and Twitter, and Battlefield fans are pissed we didn't do enough updates or communication during the holiday break. Guys, people gotta rest. We have things in motion, but we have to figure out what is possible. We will address things when it's 100%. Let us get our break and get back to work. Love you guys, but these expectations are brutal. Now, this stoked a lot of the raging fires of fanboys because, quite frankly, the game is still a completely broken mess. Let me just put this in context. When you think about Battlefield 2042, you probably imagine huge servers because that was the original marketing push was, wow, look how fancy this game is. Look how massive the battlefields of Battlefield can be. Except here's the thing. I screenshotted these numbers that you're seeing on screen right now. Somebody decided to make a Battlefield fan game called Battle Bit. It is already more played than Battlefield 2042. A free fan version of this project that actually cost hundreds of millions of dollars to make is more popular. That is completely insane when you consider it, but this is all from a direct thing. So straight up, I've been just trying to look at a lot of the community fan forums. The entire conversation around this game is basically just about how much of a downgrade this project is. Here's basically the main thing people have been comparing it to a lot is Battlefield 3. Look at the graphics of Battlefield 3, a game that literally is 11 years old. It objectively looks better. One of the major complaints I keep seeing people bring up about Battlefield 2042 is that the maps are so massive but so vacant. These deserts, these empty cities, these giant topographical catastrophes. Even though they have cool weather effects and great lighting effects, you can tell that this is a game that's rushed. I know the developers can never openly say it, but it's pretty obvious that somebody at the top of Electronic Arts just said, print it and we'll figure it out afterward. Except here's the thing, this has continually backfired. Now let me show you this. Just a couple days ago, they decided to try and launch a special mode that was going to be very, very hype. The idea was to get the remaining fans that are sticking with Battlefield 2042 and give them a reward, something that is going to really shake up the concept of Battlefield 2042. This was called the Zombie Survival Game Mode. And guess what? They immediately removed it. This was in the game for 48 hours before they had to remove it because everybody was using it to power level. Easily one of the most hated concepts of Battlefield 2042 is that it is heavily based on a leveling system. In order to actually get better guns, better adjustments, better upgrades to the individual weapons you're going to be using, you have to use them a lot. You have to participate in a lot of these matches. But since the game itself is so broken, since there's so many hard crashing lobbies, frame rate errors, and sometimes just guns that won't shoot because the server sucks, it makes people just aggravated. They want to level up enough to actually use the weapons, and yet they can't. It's funny that people were using this to power level themselves, and yet they had to shut it down. Even the fun treats that they get for participating in this game is something that's managed to become tainted. As I go through these leaks, as I go through all this stuff, it's funny to see how everybody is just upset about the fact that this game could have been better, but it isn't. Like, here's one of the top posts right now on Battlefield 2042's subreddit, and it's basically comparing the fact that if you look at the animations for Battlefield 3, which, keep in mind, came out in 2011, this game is vastly superior. Like, look at this. It's crazy to see that this Battlefield 2042 is so inferior. It's clunkier, it looks worse, the textures, the assets. This is an inferior product that they wanted a full $60, $70, or even $80 if you get the special edition. But here's my thoughts on it, is the fact that I don't think this is a problem that can be easily solved. I feel like a lot of the frustration inside of Electronic Arts right now comes down to the fact that they haven't had a failure this big in quite a while. Like, a lot of times, once a series becomes established, it feels like publishers just assume that, of course, they can be annualized. I mean, think about all the series that manage to successfully be annualized. There's a Call of Duty every year, and even if it's bad, it manages to sell greats. There's a freaking, almost every single year, there's an Assassin's Creed. And yeah, the story sucks, and the characters seem to fall off buildings or through the ground, but they still manage to sell. Companies like this just keep assuming that if you can print it, people will buy it. The huge catastrophe of Battlefield 2042, I feel like, is becoming a flag in the ground, saying there is a standard. There is a way to fail. The fact that this game has absolutely nobody playing it, very, very low player numbers in general, like even the upfront sales of this, it's a game that's managed to flop in a time where flops are becoming increasingly rare. But there's one last thing I want to take a look at here, which is another tweet by this leaker that I found incredibly fascinating. Tom Henderson said this. This is actually a tweet from 3 days ago, and it's something that's been very much burning a hole in my brain, which is this. For those asking, I don't know what's going on at the moment with Battlefield 2042 because I don't think they know what's going on. Obviously talking about the developers and people in charge of the entire project over at the headquarters. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and it's going to be genuinely difficult, if not impossible, to fix the game. DLC 1 is expected in mid-March, and it's just from the data mines. Also, they're trying to do all sorts of different modes. We'll probably get the following on the game during their earnings call. Battlefield is a failed to meet the expectations. It's funny to think that even with all the analysis, even with all the hype, even with all the conversation, even the people inside the company have no idea how to patch this broken ship. What I decided to do today is just install the game again. I'm playing it a bit on PlayStation 5, and as I'm running around in the vacant maps and trying to find a target, to find some enjoyment, to find a couple headshots, I'm still just almost impressed as to how badly they managed to screw this up. Last year was a pretty quiet year for major releases. Like, when you think about it, there was some fun stuff, there were some indie hits, there was a lot of projects that managed to spark our attention, but when you think about it, since Call of Duty managed to completely flop last year with Vanguard becoming such a tire fire, this could have been a chance for Battlefield to pull ahead, for Battlefield to get taken seriously. And instead, the biggest hit when it comes to first-person shooters was Halo Infinite, which I'm happy about. I do like Halo Infinite a lot, but Battlefield 2, like, seeing 2042 go down in flames, it's something that I feel like is going to get etched into their tombstone. I do think that this is perhaps going to be the death of Battlefield, at least for a while. Something like this is something that's very difficult to come back from. I feel like nowadays, gamers care about trust and integrity. You don't just want to love the game. You don't just want to log in and do your daily quests. It also comes down to trust. You want to believe that you're voting with your wallet. If the game is good, you want to make sure it's going to make more great projects. But at this point, you know for a fact that Electronic Arts, they don't care about you, and they definitely don't care about Battlefield. But these have just been some off-the-cuff thoughts because honestly, this entire freaking mess is just such a unique freaking catastrophe. I hope you guys enjoyed the videos, and I hope you enjoy your weekend. It has been a very fun week, so please do me a big favor. Like this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe. And of course, keep dreaming. Oh, man. And also drink some bangs if you want. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.